We're back again. Thankfully, we haven't gone
Mhm.
on a long break now, but we're back again, and we have a few talking points.
Yeah.
Which one do we start off? Do we start with the international break, or do we start with the stuff that happened before the international break?
Um, International break.
Okay, you,
I
you
mean,
want you want me to save my rants about Hajduk for last, right?
yeah. I mean, we can get my rants on Scotland. I don't have many rants on Scotland. We were just terrible, but
Oh yeah, I saw
yeah,
Greece absolutely with the young squad just demolished you.
yeah. It's like the first time in many years we've had Scotland games free on TV that actually matter.
Oh
And so it's like, oh, I can just watch this rather than it's
yeah,
usually
and
it's
then and it still
hidden
ends
away
up
on.
being that you pay too much.
Yeah, it's usually on like Viaplay, so it's like behind you know the third sports subscription that no
Oh,
one
oh my
uses
god.
at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean the second leg it was absolutely atrocious.
And the first leg?
Was slightly better. 1 second.
All right. Anyways, I'll surely obviously who doesn't know why don't you know if you're following this podcast? Croatia obviously lost to France over the two legs. Not great obviously, but the first game absolutely amazing. One of the best games Croatia has had in modern times. But the second one, we'll get to it when Richard comes back. But I'll surely cover the first game briefly. So first game, Guardiola is back to left back. We're back to a four at back to the four at the back formation. After I mean, the three at the back looked okay, as we did mention like previously. We looked good under it. We obviously barely went through after that game against Portugal with a draw, but Scotland obviously, thankfully, didn't go through, and now they're in League B. But yeah, Guardiola was good. The problem for us, and obviously in the first game and the second game, was obviously just the wingers, Dembele, Mbappe. I mean, just the attackers, not wingers. Just Dembele, Mbappe, Barcola, Due. We just couldn't deal with them. We couldn't deal with them in the first game. Thankfully, Livakovic was there in both games, especially in the first game where he made lots of saves, which definitely saved us. And my hair really goes up here, doesn't it? Oh my god. Anyways, I gotta get a haircut. Uh, but we were really struggling. But in the first game, we actually had possession of the ball. We actually had possession in which we could do something. France let us do our thing, which we made them pay. Obviously, the first 5 minutes. Obviously, the first shot came from Dembele, which got easily saved by Livakovic. But then immediately after, we get a penalty. Clear as day handball. We'll get to the handballs. Oh God, we have a lot to talk about the Rijeka Hajduk match that happened last week. Actually, 2 weeks ago now. Anyways, Richard's back.
Children.
Children. I was just talking about. I mean, I was just going through over the first leg and just got to the penalty, which I was like, yeah, clear as day handball. But then I remember, yeah, handballs maybe not clear as day after remembering Rijeka Hajduk 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean it
But
was
I will get to it.
yeah, it was one of those. It was ridiculously close, but also not. I mean, it's hard to say
Yeah,
what is a natural hand position nowadays,
no,
but
nobody knows today. It's just up to the ref to decide if it's a penalty or not at this point.
exactly. But I mean, I suppose it was a good preview for what happened at the end of the second leg. Um, if nothing else.
Well, yeah, Andre Kramaric stepped up. Maignan just easily saved it. It was just a poor penalty. I don't know if Kramaric went for a Panenka or something, but it looked like that.
Yeah, there was no nothing in his run up. It was
Yeah,
almost.
there was. Yeah,
I think you sort of see that Petkovic does it. He does the stutter step,
yeah,
and it's like Kramaric did that but forgot to stutter.
yeah. And obviously, France. Actually, in this game, we actually had possession, especially in the first half. We just had the possession. France actually let us have the ball, which obviously didn't pay well for them because in the 25th, 26th minute, we got Perisic on the left, who did his thing again on the left wing and really crossed it to Budimir, who, with a bit of luck, a good enough header, a strong enough header to beat Maignan, even though he got a more than a hand to it.
Yeah, it's not. You don't often see it with that sort of spin Coming
Yeah.
off the save, just going over the line is very, very unlucky.
Well, it went in.
Yeah. It went in, which is the point, which is not the point of being a goalkeeper, but I mean,
Yeah.
it was decent save. I mean, you feel for the goalkeeper in that sort of instance.
Yeah, and we were actually putting pressure on France I mean, in the first half. I think all of our shots came in the first half. I don't think we had a single one in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that tells you a lot.
Yeah.
How well we played in the first half, and then the other three halves that happened. Uh, but yeah, I mean, we can just skip to Perisic's goal, which Baturna has a shot, it blocks, and then just nobody is even close to cover Perisic, who can take his time and just volley it straight down the left and score his first goal at Poljud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First of many? No.
See, I wish it would have been, but no. And that was actually I for some reason I thought he scored before because I think we played Slovenia or Cyprus at Poljud, and I remember like all the Hajduk players scored like Livaya, Vlasic, Pasalic, and I thought we won 4-0. I think Perisic scored then, but he didn't. We won 3-0, and the three aforementioned players actually scored then, and not Perisic. So I was like, oh, he didn't score because I
I
remember
think,
Livaya and Perisic celebrating together
well, that's the thing. I mean,
Livaya's goal.
you think with Perisic having so many gaps for a
Yeah,
start, but also as many goals as he does, you play
yeah.
enough of
Now,
Polyod to surely have scored once ever, but like you say, evidently not.
yeah, and he's now the second top goal scorer in Croatia's history. So behind Davor Šuker, he's jumped Mandzukic. So I mean, put him on against Gibraltar and just let him do his thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, the so that first half was amazing from Croatia. Just the whole game. The second half, we defended brilliantly. I mean, we Dembele and Mbappe did their stuff to get shots off, but Livakovic was there. So, but that game just looked very mature from us, which we haven't had in a long time, especially in a knockout game. Sadly,
Yeah.
this was just over two legs, not
I
one.
think, like you say, I mean, even the chances that they did have, they weren't.
Yeah,
Okay, they fall into great players, but they weren't absolute certs. It's not like France did anything where you're like, oh well, they really should have scored that, or you'd expect them
yeah,
to score that. They were kept at arm's length a little bit, but obviously
yeah,
that
and
only lasted
especially
for
with
90 minutes.
yeah, and Livakovic was amazing. I mean, over both legs, not just the first one, especially in the second one. In the first one, he made loads of saves, but loads of those saves came after a deflection or a block,
Mhm.
which just shows that yeah, like Maldini does say that if I have to make a tackle, I already made a mistake, but we still like made good. Our players still made good recoveries after Mbappe, Dembele got past them, Barcola. They still made good recoveries, which wasn't the case in the second leg. But the first game was just one of the best games we've had in like since Dalic took over.
Mhm. Yeah, which I mean, let's be honest, any game where you beat France, it sort of automatically qualifies as that.
Well, yeah,
Um,
but like the last time we beat France in Paris in the
mm,
Nations League, what 2022,
yeah,
2023, something like that. That was just penalty in the 5th minute, same thing, just except this time we score and then we just defend with our
mhm.
lives. With Ivošić in goal, Stanisic playing like one of his first games for Croatia, Erlich together with Šutalo or Guardiol. So it was a mix. It wasn't that good. It was just hoping and praying that they cannot score, which they didn't in that game, and thankfully it went like that year. But our second visit to Paris in the Nations League didn't go as nearly as planned.
No, but I mean, again, sort of like you say, you're hoping France put in an off day
Yeah,
twice in a row, and we know sort of obviously Deschamps has been managing them for long enough. They've got bad performances in them, and we see them irregularly. Had one in the first leg,
Yeah,
but they were back to normal for the second.
yeah, yeah. Dalic before the game said we're not gonna play this like we're leading 2-0. We're gonna play like it's 0-0. But France was playing it like they were losing. So
Mm.
that doesn't go according to plan. If France is like going all out and you're trying to like still do the same thing, mm, yeah, that's not gonna work.
Yeah, and I think particularly when there's not much for them to think about. Um,
Yeah,
like I say, if you're going to sit and have to play a little bit on the counter, or you've got three guys who are what Budimir's the youngest, so 30, is he 33 as well?
yeah, I think he
You got
is.
three old men
I
up
think he's
front.
pretty free.
Yeah, you got two 33-year-olds and Perisic older still, and your rotation is to bring Sucic in, who you know isn't going to
Yeah,
take as high a position as Baturina is. So it, you have to win the possession game, otherwise you're not going to have much in the way of chances to
yeah,
break out if France do what they should do. So I think possibly, I hesitate to say there was a mistake there. I think possibly the original plan would have been to start Ivanovic in Paris. I think that probably would have been a better idea.
yeah,
Because at least if you're going to use Budimir, using him in a not a hit and hope scenario, but you would be bringing him on when France are putting forward, when he's going to have more chances of getting a 1v1 for
yeah,
backing in and be able to hold the ball up, rather than sort of swapping it around the way that they did. Um, Stanisic isn't the athlete Juranovic is at right back as well. So again, you got to think if you're looking to break out, and obviously, as we saw, Juranovic is very good at taking penalties. Stanisic less so.
yeah,
So I mean, I'd wonder maybe Dalic looks back in it. Maybe he would say rather than starting Sucic, fair enough, not starting Badurina. We know he's knackered.
I
Basically,
mean, yeah,
but Vlasic probably would have been the in between option there.
yeah. And I'm
To at
also
least
surprised
see the
Vlasic
pace.
didn't come in later in the match because obviously Vlasic can take a penalty and has taken was the first one to take one against Brazil.
Yeah, and the same there applies with Juranovic. But I think the other part of it is, and this is probably what we get to next, is this wasn't a bad quarterfinal to lose in terms of the World Cup.
No, no. Obviously, after losing it, we so if we won it, we would be in the group with Ukraine.
It was,
Who else?
yeah, Ukraine,
Let me quickly pull it
Iceland,
up.
and it's Ukraine, Iceland, and someone.
Essentially, it's two teams that we struggle against.
Yeah, it would have been. Let me know. Ukraine,
It would be
Iceland, and
UK, Iceland,
Azerbaijan.
and Azerbaijan. Yeah, so actually, three teams we struggle against in the past.
Yeah, let's be honest. You don't want to be in a group against Ukraine because of the, whether it's pot B or pot C, whatever pot they
Yeah,
were in. They're the side in that pot you wouldn't have wanted. As it stands, obviously it's the case that it's the Czechs. It's not an easy draw by any means, but
no,
the other
especially for us
threes,
because we haven't beaten them in a game.
yeah.
I think we played twice at the Euros and we haven't won once.
And then the other three teams are Gibraltar. That's 6
Yeah,
points over two games. Pharaohs, who are better.
they're getting better.
They're getting better, but at the same time, it's still 6 points. And if it's not, that's a big surprise. And Montenegro. And
Yeah, first time we're gonna be playing them, so we have no history with them.
well, there's history, just not in
Well,
this
no.
not in this
I meant, I
particular
meant, in,
sport.
I meant in football. I meant in football.
I think the thing with Montenegro is, and you probably know yourself, I've got quite a high opinion of the group that they've got at the minute. I think this one tournament, 2026 World Cup, is basically their window for them to be able to reach a major tournament.
Yeah,
The problem that you have is that they are managed by Brzezinski.
Prosinecki.
and he's just not very good. I mean, obviously they had a terrible Nations League campaign. He was going to leave. Then they beat Turkey 3-1 in the final game, and they're like, "Oh, well, that's progress.
Oh well, we
We'll
can continue this.
we can continue this." Yeah, it's not like Sabotage has any negative record of running international football at all. But yeah, I mean, and you sort of look at the games that they played. They were dire against
Yeah,
Gibraltar. They were bad against the Faroes. They got 6 points out of 6, which is what they should be getting
yeah.
from home games against those two. But really,
It wasn't as easy.
Gibraltar could have left with a point, and
Yeah, I mean Gibraltar
it
took a
wouldn't be too
lead,
unfair.
so
Yeah. So, and I think on top of that, there's a couple of players he's fallen out with. Um, I think just the selections are weird as well in terms of the
yeah,
teams he's putting out there. There are better players being left on the bench, but if you had that squad fully fit and well managed, you'd have Kistovic, Djukanovic, Jovetic, Adzic coming in. Osmajic, mad though he is, as a very capable backup. Um,
yeah,
there's not too. It's a pretty strong group they've got there, but it's at the same time it's not one that I'd be concerned about, even from the perspective of just challenging for second in that group anymore.
yeah.
It really is
Let's.
just straight between Croatia and the Jacks.
Yeah, it should be like that. But knowing us, it's gonna be way more difficult than it should be. Especially because it's Czechia.
Yeah,
We played twice against them, as I mentioned, the Euros 2016, 2020, actually 2021. Drew both times, and both times, actually, first time we had the lead, then we dropped it after the flares from the fans, from our fans. That's a topic for another day. And in the second game, Schick, I think, scored against us for the lead, and then
yeah,
Perisic drew a level, and that's it.
yeah. I mean, they weren't the Czechs. Their record recently isn't bad. It's not good. I mean, see, they were out in the groups at the Euros, and Georgia got a point against them.
Yep.
The Nations League campaign was decent in terms that they beat Ukraine at home, beat Albania at home, beat Georgia. They won their home games and didn't win anything away. But then still look at the two games this past time. They had to have a late goal to beat the Faroes, which
Yeah.
again, and beat Gibraltar 4-0, but that doesn't count.
That doesn't count.
It doesn't. I mean, let's be honest. Croatia don't score many goals. They will put four past Gibraltar. So
I mean, we struggle against. Okay, Cyprus is better, but still, we struggle.
not
We
much.
just struggle. Well, yeah, we just struggle against lower teams for some reason.
Yeah. So it's landed quite well. It's probably one of those that it would have been nice to get to a Nations League finals tournament, but at the end of the day, you'd much rather have a greater chance of winning a group and getting through to the World Cup without having to bother with playoffs or anything like that,
Yeah.
and be out in the quarterfinals than be in the semi-final, then be knocked out in the semi-final and have to play Ukraine home and away.
Mm-hmm. Should we go back to the game?
Yes.
Yeah. So obviously, first half, just France.
Second half,
Just France.
just France.
Second,
Extra time.
extra time, just France. Penalties, mostly France.
Yeah, there were some bad penalties.
There were some shocking penalties, but let's quickly go over. So the first half, France were having loads of half chances, if I can call them that.
Yeah, it's sort of similar to as you described it, Polly. It's things that were breaking, but there were
Yeah,
chances that were snatched at. Things where they were taken in the wrong position and things like that. It wasn't anything. There wasn't a big glaring miss
yeah.
at all.
Uh, The only real chance in the first half, I mean, they had bunch of chances from a corner, especially Upamecano, and I think Upamecano only actually
Mhm.
had headers that went just wide. But Barcola in the 36th, 37th, somewhere around that, just before the 40th minute, had a one-on-one, which Livakovic saved brilliantly.
Yeah, and I mean, again, that's what you expect at the Stade de France, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah. But then I think probably it's one of those where they needed a bit of magic, and obviously they got it early in the second half. You want to
only the
say?
second half. Yeah, and their goal actually came from after a period where we actually took the ball for like actually for like 4 minutes, where we actually had the ball, and
Mhm.
then immediately after they get the free kick and it's in.
Yeah, and it's one of those where like I say, they if you last 10 minutes longer, you're probably through. But
Yeah,
because you had neutralized the game that little bit, and once you sort of lose the crowd, get them on the backs, then things do become more difficult for players. Particularly if you come off a disappointing result, you're a disappointing performance, and you're like, well, actually, can we get through? You start thinking about things, um, and then you just dispatch the free kick into the top corner, and all's right with the world.
yeah. Sorry, somebody's calling me for some reason.
Do you have to run, or do
uh,
I have to go solo now?
no, 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 no. No, no, no. We can continue, but yeah, at least a perfect free kick. I mean, uh, just our whole problem again this time, except this time the defense was very knackered after the first game.
Mhm.
Dembele, Olise, and Barcola just and Mbappe. It was just four wingers in attack who were just running at you, changing positions, changing wings. Nobody was at the same position for more than 5 minutes, and they were just changing constantly.
And again, that sort of goes to the point from earlier, which was sort of around the penalties. But the only defensive sub made in that game was Guardiola.
Yeah,
Did there need to be more done there? Perhaps it's hard to say because ultimately, aside from Guardiola, the players that have gone off are Modric, Kovacic, Perisic, Kramaric, Budimir, who are all, let's be very kind to them, of an age
yeah,
where you're like, well, actually, yeah, you guys can't necessarily do 120 minutes after having done, you know, 60, 80, 90 3 days ago.
yeah. I mean, it's very hard. I mean, Modric also I think played with a little injury, with a
He
little
was ill.
strain. I think. He was ill.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I saw something like that. Yeah, so it wasn't. It wasn't has it just wasn't good for anybody for us to just play France who are just running and we're not.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's exceptionally, quite take age away, it's exceptionally athletic front four that they have. And it told. But again, sort of it told physically. But it didn't tell mentally. Even
Yeah,
though obviously Croatia got pegged back, it you got pegged back, but then went through extra time. So if it told mentally, then I think you would have seen it not have to go to penalties. But like I say, in terms of the chances, a lot of it wasn't just a chance. It would be a chance. It would be deflected or pushed wide, and then it would be another chance straight away from the corner. And it was just that not only being able to use that to be able to make yourself a chance, but also to be able to keep that pressure applied.
yeah. Let's get to the second goal, which came in the 80th minute
Yep, from
through
Dembele.
Ousmane Dembele. Yeah, and Olise perfect assist to just made a great run down the right side. Right side, nobody could catch him, and Dembele was just all alone in around the penalty area.
Yeah, and I mean, I think at least was his arrival at this level. I mean, his sixth cap, first goal, probably his first assist as well.
Yeah, no, he's doing brilliantly.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like you said, it was just when you watch it back, I think it's Stanisic who was you just like, oh, you're very out of position.
Yeah,
For the more defensively minded player in that role, and it's like, yeah, this isn't good.
yeah, and the subs right before. So Ivanovic came in the 60th minute, and Baturna and Pasalic came on for Perisic and Kramaric, which okay, makes sense. I understand it. And then straight after the goal, you lose Kovacic and Modric to Jakic and Moro, and at that point, I'm just like, just finish us, please.
But at the same
I
time,
can't bother.
that's probably also a change just to say, right, okay, we're sitting back and we're taking the pressure and taking this
Yeah,
extra time, which is what it needed to be. It's hard to know, sort of because we have the World Cup draw calculation / conspiracy, depending on how Serbian you are. In terms of
probably a
what
conspiracy.
yeah, in terms of what Croatia want out of this game, you could have, we didn't see Fruk, which was disappointing, but
Yeah,
it's great to see Ivanovic get his first cast, but it wasn't treated as a development opportunity that it could have been. And I appreciate that sort of just quibbling about how you've not used one player, but at that point, like you say, why bring Baturna on for Grammar? Why not just put Fruk on instead?
yeah,
Because
or just instead of More, for example, like More or Jakic, just put Fruk on. Like those players already have some experience, especially Jakic has experience with the national team.
yeah,
More not that much, but put Fruk on at this point. You have nothing to lose. It's if like we're pegged back. We're
yeah,
expected to lose this no matter what. If we take this to penalty, then yeah, okay, great. Fruk was one of the players that held back France.
yeah, and also he can hit them from 25 yards,
Yeah, he plays
which
for
was about
Rijeka.
all that was going to get. Yeah.
He plays for Rijeka, but I gotta talk about Modric because Modric had an awful game.
Yeah, in terms of, like you say, losing possession, it was in the run up to, obviously the second.
Yeah,
No,
the
it wasn't
second
the
goal,
run up,
yeah.
but there was one in extra time as well. No, it can't be an extra time because he wasn't on the pitch.
I was gonna
There
say,
was something in the
can't.
first half, and I just
I
it
think
came
it
to
was. I think
he just
the
lost
one
control
thing.
behind him.
Oh no, I'm thinking about so Mbappe is in between him and Stanisic,
Mm-hmm.
and Modric just passes it straight to Mbappe, and I was like,
Yeah,
are you guys have you guys forgot you're not a Real Madrid, please,
yeah,
Luca? But obviously, he could have forgot where he was that match because he just missed everything. Like, okay, not everything, but like everything because we're used to Modric just being perfect almost every
well,
game.
it's not the first time,
Yeah, it's
is it?
not.
And
It's not in the last 2 years. It's not.
I think that's possibly the difference now is that yeah, he still puts in incredible performances
Yeah,
from time to time. And to be honest, the volume of performances that he's put in that time hasn't the really good performances hasn't really changed that much. It's quite weird in that regard, but he doesn't seem to. Okay, he's still sort of hitting that a very similar level for Real, but yes, he's used differently for Croatia. Um,
yeah,
for Croatia, he doesn't seem to have those average performances. It seems to
yeah,
be he's having a really good performance or he's having a really not
yeah,
good performance, and that's I don't want to say it's his age because if it was his age, he wouldn't be having the really good performances. It's difficult to know what exactly it is, whether it's something around him, whether it's a mental aspect, just being a bit worn down by being in
Yeah,
camp. I don't know. But there's evidently something there that's having a detriment.
yeah, and obviously we spoke about it at last year at the Euros. Should he be used as a super sub option, like for the last 30 minutes, maybe 40? Because at this point it seems to suit us more. But again, it's Modric. If Modric can play, Dalic is kind of stardom.
Yeah, which is fine, but at some point you have to move along to bringing him along as, let's be honest, as Feeder was taken along this past summer.
Yeah,
You know, he's there for vibe, and that's about it. um, Obviously,
yeah, and
Modric
I'm
will
kind
always
of
be more of a contributor than that, but
yeah, because he's not a defender. He can actually, he still has skill.
yeah,
He can
but you
still,
can't you can't play him 180 slash 210 minutes in a week.
yeah,
So there needs to be a shift so that, you know, maybe first game he plays 90 minutes, second game he's coming on for 30 or something like that. But
yeah.
there's not
And yeah, and
enough.
I hope that happens, especially in the games. Like I really hope that we don't see Modric play against Gibraltar once, and like maybe like come in the last 20 minutes just to get another cap,
Yeah,
or maybe a chance a goal or assist. But like give the youngsters a chance, and please, Dalic, for fuck's sake, Luka Vuskovic. What's stopping from Luka Vuskovic to getting called up for France and getting what 20 minutes or
yeah,
getting extra time?
yeah. And again, that's
Much
sort of the
better than
same.
Pograsic. Much better
Well,
than Pograsic. You're getting him the first minutes, and he's 17 at this point. That's huge experience for him.
and it's not just huge experience, it's just to be around the camp. It's to say,
Exactly.
you are going to be part of our future. We want you to, we want to take a look at you, but also we want you to be involved. You're not going to play these two games against France, that's fine, but this is,
Yeah, just call him
you're
up.
around the group now.
And
Yeah.
we just had three defenders. We only had three defenders. Okay, Stanisic can maybe play the right sided center back, but still, Vuskovic is right there. He's just waiting. Everybody's waiting, not just him.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, that's probably another thing that we've not touched on is the formation, and that it was just back to usual.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
I mentioned that when you were gone. We
all
just
right,
went
sorry.
back to the four at the back. Yeah, obviously, I just mentioned it quickly that we just moved back, even though the three at the back was okay. Like it was good. Like we were still working on it, obviously, because you can't get something done in just 4 games.
I think
But
it works well that you can get Stanisic and Juranovic on the same wing.
yeah, and on the same game, yeah, on the same lineup, it really does. But yeah, I mean, let's. So yeah, after the second goal, extra time was just a bore. Mbappe had a few good chances, but Livakovic stopped them always, and just some brilliant saves from Livakovic in extra time, and then penalties.
Yeah,
Croatia's
you,
forte, right?
not in the Nations League. It's not.
No, in the Nations League, it's just the World Cup for some reason. Just the World Cup.
Yeah, and there's not much to say because
We
it
didn't have
wasn't
many penalty takers, so I wasn't
yeah,
expecting anything.
that, and on top of that, okay, Manu made the save, but also, you got two penalties where Livakovic has guessed right and got
And
contact on it. Yeah,
just went past.
yeah. So,
And
you know,
those was the first two penalties. So if you save the first one, the rest of the rest of the French players are gonna be like, "Oh shit, he's doing it again."
yeah. So, yeah, it's unlucky. It was very, you're talking about being a couple of inches really from it being Croatia winning on penalties, and we're
Well,
talking about
that's always gonna be penalties.
yeah. But they weren't, from a Croatian perspective, obviously they weren't good penalties. There wasn't the power
No,
behind them. They weren't far enough in the corner. I don't know how much practice they did in training on them. Evidently not enough.
Obviously, let's go for the penalty takers. But Turna doesn't take penalties. He's obviously like one of the attack-minded players in the squad, so that's why he was
Mhm.
among the first. Was the first one to take it.
Yeah.
Moro was is okay. I don't think he's taken like more than 2 free penalties in his life.
Mhm.
Ivanovic is somewhat of a penalty taker, I think, for Saint Joula, but yeah, still doesn't haven't hasn't taken too many. I think he's taken
Yeah.
one for Rijeka when he was at Rijeka, or maybe he did one.
Yeah, and obviously put it into orbit.
Yeah, and Mario Pasalic was the only one I had. Like, okay, yeah, he's probably gonna score. Like, I was like, the only confident player I was in was him.
Yeah, but yeah, well done, France. I mean, it's not too
They
much to.
deserved it. They
Yeah,
absolutely deserved it. Just because the second game, second leg, that was just they ran us off the pitch.
yeah, and I mean, obviously they've got France. So they are France. They've got Spain in the semis.
Yeah,
Um,
it would have been a rematch if we went through.
yeah, so I mean, we'll see. I mean, like you say, it's the algebra for it really is just World Cup based now.
Yeah.
And I think unless you are French, Spanish, German, or Portuguese, you're not thinking about the Nations League in June or at all. We're
Well,
thinking about 2026.
yeah. I mean, you have just what 6 games to play in those groups because it's just 4 teams.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so you get that done later in the year. So yeah, it's a shame for us because it's the Final Four tournament is in Germany.
Mm.
Again, we would have had loads of support as we had in the Netherlands at Rotterdam. So it's a shame just because of that. Because it would have been really good to look forward to again to the atmosphere in Germany. Just the stadiums being filled with our fans,
Mm.
2 years in a row. But yeah, sadly, no.
Have we not
We're
got a
gonna be
big?
facing.
Have we not got a big expat community in Gibraltar?
I mean, does Gibraltar have a huge stadium?
Well, they still play in Portugal.
Oh, they still do. Okay,
Yeah,
fair enough. But yeah, now we're facing Gibraltar in our first game in June, and then we're facing Czechia, right? The second game.
yeah, exactly. Facing Gibraltar instead of Spain. So
Yeah.
where's the difference? Next door to each other, and
Yeah, that's pretty much it. But yeah,
great.
we'll see more about the nations, what not the Nations League, sorry,
The World
about the
Cup.
World Cup qualifying group when we get to June. When we get to June,
Yeah,
but
and
yeah,
then we can just wait until next June and then see whether anyone's actually allowed in the bloody country.
listen. Oh my God, to quickly mention the USA. Oh my God, they lost to Panama and to Canada again in every sport. They've lost. So ever since Trump has become president, they've just been losing to Canada.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, they won the first game against Canada, and then in the ice hockey, then
And then they
it's in the
lost.
final, and then they lost
Yeah,
the one that counted really.
yeah.
But
Nobody cares about that first game then.
exactly, yeah, it doesn't count. Well, if you lose in the group stage, but then beat them in the final,
But beat them in the final,
who
yeah.
remembers
Who
that?
who cares? The kind of the fans will probably just look back at it. Yeah, it's better if we lost. We gave them confidence,
Yeah.
false hope. But yeah, anyways, let's go. Mentioning false hope, let's go to Hajduk. Let's go to Rijeka Hajduk because yeah, there's a few things I want to say. So
Hit the stage.
Rijeka, yeah, Rijeka absolutely deservedly won. First off, Hajduk did nothing in the match. Absolutely, we did nothing. We couldn't do anything in attack. We just had the tactic of let's try and get it to Livaya, but you couldn't get it to Livaya loads of times. So it was just everybody just looking at each other. Who's gonna take responsibility? Oh, nobody. Okay, yeah. And meanwhile, Rijeka was just yeah. The first goal came from an it was an own goal by Perpic.
Mm.
And then the penalty from Kurgovic and Fruk, clear step, which for some reason I remember that same thing happened twice this season. Both times it wasn't given, and I was just outraged both times because it wasn't given. Because the first time was was Slaven. Both times it was Slaven. I think it was Slaven Varaždin,
Mm.
and it was Dinamo Slaven when Grgic got stamped on by Ristovski or Sucic, somebody like that. Like same thing, like just stomped straight onto his foot. Clear penalty, clear foul.
Mm.
Just for some reason wasn't given before. So I was just like, okay, thank God. I mean, not thank God.
Yeah.
I was watching it. I was, yeah, fuck, he's gonna give it now. But
Thank goodness
obviously,
for sporting integrity.
yeah, obviously, I was just pissed at the refs who just weren't keeping any kind of consistency and never will in Croatia. But I mean, let me surely get to the ref because okay, let's get to the penalty calls. Then I'll get to the overall refereeing of Dario Bell. The penalties. So okay, Rijeka penalty, clear penalty. Second penalty shout was Krovinovic's just touches the ball and it's starts going to the goal barely, and it touches Bogovic's hand, which is up here, which is like here, like somewhere around here. He's holding it up. I think that's a handball. I mean, it hits his hand, that's for sure.
Mhm.
But now if it's punishable, I just think it is just because it's just like it's up here with the shoulder, and if it's above the shoulder, it's a penalty, and it's just in the height of the shoulder.
Yeah, and I think there was a couple of instances quite similar on the same weekend that I've seen. I can't remember who it was, but it's one where it's sort of almost rolled up. Even let's say it's sort of sprung up and hit, it's sort of
Yeah,
gone up the body and along. Um, so it's almost less handball and more body and just natural extension. And
yeah,
you tie yourself in knots, don't you? Trying to
yeah.
decipher exactly what handball is sometimes. Um, it sort of is a you know it when you see it at this
Yeah,
point.
at this point, I'm just praying that the we either like make a clear and cut what is a handball, and like it's either making everything a handball or just making the rules super like into detail what is and what isn't.
Yeah, but the problem with the being in details, and people will say, "Oh, it's too detailed. You can't understand it,"
Yeah, I
which is
but
probably what
but
it is already.
it probably is already. But yeah, the second handball from Fruk as he's going down, he's not making a challenge. He's just going down to make an attempt at a block,
Mhm.
and it hits his hand right before he's gonna place it on the ground so he can support himself. Which again, I've never seen a situation like that, so I I I didn't want to even make a suggestion that it was a penalty to anybody I was talking to. I was just like, God knows what that is. If I know it's the supporting arm, but it's before it's on the ground. So does that count?
I mean, when it's a supporting arm, you normally see it given. I'd say
I No. I mean, every time I've seen somebody like as if it's on the ground, the supporting arm, I haven't seen it given in the last few years.
maybe that's just me with Scottish refs.
Yeah, could be. I was like, where have you seen that? Because I remember one
For
handle match. It was the
Rangers,
same thing. Rangers.
yeah.
But yeah, I remember a handle match a few seasons ago. It was the same thing, but it was on the ground and got taken to VR and was obviously wasn't given. And I agree with that because okay, it's clear and cut. If it's on the ground, if it's your sporting arm, it's not a penalty. But what happens when it's not on the ground yet? When it's just before, then it's just like you're blocking it before it even touched the ground. So
I don't
yeah,
know.
we don't know. I asked Slovenino.
Yeah.
He said yes. I think to both penalties, but Skobina said yes to one penalty. I don't think he said yes to the Flug penalty. I think he said yes to the Krovinovic penalty.
Well, we need to get Nick on TV then, don't
Yeah,
we?
but I mean the problem with okay the Flug one. if I'm supposed to give one, I would give the Frook one just because the shot is going on target.
Yeah,
Yeah, and the first one from Krovinovic that just isn't going anywhere. That's just the ball is probably gonna end up in Zlomisic's hands if Bogovic doesn't touch it, but it's still a handball. So I you know what? I give up. But
yeah,
what should have been a penalty was Lucic's tackle on Chop, who just goes straight through him.
yeah. Agreed.
That that's just, you can't be doing that. I get that it's been a match where Dario Bell just hasn't held any kind of consistency in his calls. Not the penalties. I'm not mentioning the penalties. Not about the penalties. Just in general, the refereeing. Kalik gets brought down, and I think he pulls Radilic, or just Radilic falls over his hand, and it's a foul to Rijeka, even though Kalik was pulled down whilst trying to control the ball and give it off to Levi or Sheg or somebody, and it gets called as Rijeka foul. Multiple other fouls, just intensity. Like one times it's a foul, one time it isn't. Just in standard Croatian refs, just having a bad day again.
Yeah, but the headlines got stolen. I think it's fair to say.
Yeah,
Um, I'm
yeah.
sure you're about to have your next rant.
No, so what I had, my next rant was supposed to be about our tactics, because and obviously we didn't mention the last goal just broke very nicely from a corner. Nobody in our defense decided to even try and cover anybody in the box. Fair enough. But our again, I saw Kalik on the wing.
Yeah,
I saw Kalik on the wing, and I was like, God forbid. I get why. I get why, because you have Juachra and Davetak on that side, who obviously Rijeka loves to bomb down, up and down with their fullbacks, and Juachra is just very difficult to contain,
Mhm.
especially now that he's on form. But Kalik on the wing, please. You have Bamba, you have Durdov, you have Piuk, you have anybody else. Pukslas, I would rather see Pukslas on the wing. Richard,
You froze.
I froze.
You said you'd rather see Pukstas and froze.
I would rather
Um,
see Pukslas on the wing.
Pukstas on the wing. I
Yeah,
mean, I think it's not just on top of that. You've got Kalik, who naturally he wants to be central. So you're going to be playing narrow down that
yeah,
flank in midfield. But you've also got Hugovic behind him, who is lefty. I would play extensive time
yeah,
on the left, and again,
yeah,
is naturally going to look to go inside.
yeah,
Nothing wrong with that. But you can't have one wing where both players want to invert. You
yeah,
have to have someone wants to go around the outside.
yeah,
People did want to go around the outside. It was Jara and Devida.
yeah. And now again, as you mentioned, the Hrgovic on right back. Can we stop with that? Just play Sigurd there. Sigurd's healthy. Like, he's healthy, please. Like, I love Sigurd, and I love seeing him play in the central role. Just because I watched them one time, not one time. I watched them against Istra when we lost last season, in the
Mhm.
last minute when Lista scored. That game, Sigurd was amazing. He was like Rakitic. He was like what I saw in Rakitic when we beat Osijek when I was at the Osijek game. Just every pass perfect, every through ball, every over the top pass just perfect. He didn't misplace a pass that match, and he knows how to play that position. But we have no other right backs,
Yeah, but you can
so
play
just
Kalik
place.
on. You can play Kalik on the wing with Sigo there. You just
Yeah,
can't with Hugovic.
exactly. But please don't play Kalikano Wing ever again. I have just no, just please no. I would rather at this point, I would rather Kalik play CDM and just go through everybody as that like Gattuso type, just go through everybody, just hot headed,
Yeah,
because and just keep cover for Krovinovic and Rakitic. Just
yeah.
keep cover, because Rakitic having to be forced to press is the saddest thing I've seen in my life. He didn't do that for Barca. He cannot do that for Hajduk at what, 36,
Yeah,
37? He,
Yeah,
there's no
exactly.
way
Yeah,
he can make a he can go and press Salahi and then go back and try and keep Fruk under control. Just what are we doing? Like if we're gonna play that, put Rakitic on the bench, put Pukstas in. If we
yeah.
were gonna press, why wasn't Pukstas in the lineup? Because Sigur, he's not good at pressing. He's obviously a more defensive minded player. He's obviously been in the defensive half his whole career, and now we've been seeing him as an eight, as a winger, which it's just it's just experiments that Hajduk doesn't need. Like you would have thought that we would have gotten over this with 10 games to go in the season.
I mean, it's just I think it's a recruitment issue, which is that Japet.
Yeah,
You
obviously.
have one player who's obviously not been there for a long time, but that could have been corrected.
Yeah,
Um,
the problem also with that is okay. You just want to be on another rant. Japer, obviously he's injured. You know he's gonna be taking a long time, and if you knew in January or even middle of February, right before the transfer window deadline, if you knew that Japer wasn't gonna be ready, why not get somebody in? If you could have gotten Rusin and Mlakarin, which is and Shago in, that's
mhm.
one player too much. That's one player too much. I would rather take I don't know, Shego and Mlakar and somebody, a CDM, just anybody,
Yeah, because then you don't have this problem.
because we need one, or a right back, because just because Kurgovic played 2 good games on right back in his first 2 games as right back, because he assisted 2 games in a row, Livaya with a left foot cross on the right side, doesn't mean he has to play on the right side all the time.
Particularly against Rijeka. Okay.
Yeah, particularly in against any big team, just put like if he's so good at crosses, put him on the left.
Yeah.
Because if I ever again, also another thing, if I ever again see Shego cutting in for Diallo, so Diallo can go go on the left wing and try something on the left wing instead of Shego, I'm gonna lose it.
Yeah. Particularly
Like
because
you
it's
have,
obviously opposite of what he did at Barasi.
yeah, because you have Shego, you bought Shego, you know what he does. We know what he did at Varazdin. Took a player on, made a cross, had a shot from long range, made something happen. Here, he's cutting in to make space for Ismail Diallo, not Melniak, not Kurgovic, for Diallo. God, like all the like, I obviously don't claim to like be smarter than Gattuso, but it's not working. It's just not. I, if I was the only one, I'd be like, okay, fair enough. Maybe I'm stupid, but everybody I've spoken to, every single Hajduk fan, every single family member of mine, even my damn mother knows that we cannot be doing this.
Oh, she's probably just like, yeah, we know he's you you like that
We
anime, do
can,
you?
but we really can't be doing this. So my ideal lineup, which I want to see, is Lucic, Sigur, Uremovic, Prpic, Hrgovic, or Melnyak on left back, or Diallo. Have Diallo. Just please don't make him go up ever again. Just keep him keep him at the center half line. Just keep him at the center. And something's got into my eye. Fuck's sake. It's the bad omens about speaking little of Hajduk. But and in the midfield, I don't know what to do with the midfield because we really need Žaper just so we can
Yeah,
have Korovinovic and Rakitic because both of them just work very well off each other.
but they need someone else to do the
But
other
I need
work for
somebody
them.
else, which Sigur can do at some point. But I don't know, play Pukstas together with Rakitic and put Korovinovic as a 10.
Yeah,
So Pukstas can do the heavy lifting. He can run, obviously, and you hopefully you could put some price back into him because you're not getting the money you were gonna get for him last summer. Right wing Bamba and Shego on wings. I think that's just one of them is gonna do something on the wing. They both like to play a wide, take a man on, cross it in, shoot.
yeah,
Just don't make them cut in.
Or even
if
if it's
it's
just like Shego and Mlako, because Mlako's perfectly capable of playing that right side. But then you've
yeah,
also maybe got a better finisher if Shego's putting these crosses in deep.
yeah, that so yeah, you can put Sigurd more up forward then at that point if you're gonna put Makar on the right. But I don't think that's gonna. I don't think anything of this is gonna happen. What I'm saying, because I still think on Sunday when Hajduk goes out, it's gonna be Hrgovic on the right, uh, Diallo on the left, and and I hope
Everywhere else.
and I hope Kalik or Sigurd just don't play on the wing, but it's probably gonna be one of them on the wing. So yeah, God knows. Anyways, Gattuso, Jelicic. Uh, Obviously, the game finished, and Jurko Jelicic has been talking a lot of smack, and he always has been. He's just always very outspoken, maybe too outspoken for his own good. Obviously, talks a lot of shit about foreigners. Talks a lot of shit about many players in the league, which obviously Kanga and Uremovic have celebrated to let them know, like, hey, we hear you, dumbass. But yeah, Gattuso obviously didn't like what he's been saying because it's obviously probably taken a toll on the players or something. Or just the players have been talking about it in the dressing room, and he's probably heard it or probably saw it himself and just didn't like the way he was speaking. And obviously, just they went off at it in three different languages.
Yeah. It's. I mean, the language bit was very fun. I mean,
Oh,
like, yeah, fair play. But I mean, part of me now, sort of looking back at it, thinks maybe it's a deflection tactic. You've had a bad performance, and now you've changed it so people are talking about
yeah,
you
yeah.
getting up in someone's face.
Yeah. I really wish that Gattuso. Some part of me believes that Gattuso would have done it anyway,
Yeah. Oh no, I agree.
because he would have done it anyway if he had won 3-0, 5-0, if he had lost 7-0, 10-0. I think he still would have done it, because he just needed somebody to tell him something, because he's just been talking, especially about foreigners, and which he actually said straight to Gattuso's face, "Hey, you're a foreigner. You know, you need to learn how to respect us." And I'm like, dude, you're talking to one of the best footballing players in the newest generation. So you know. And obviously, Cannavaro today in an interview with a few journalists said that he agrees with the Gattuso and just also doesn't like Jelicic very much.
But it's also his job.
Yeah, it's also his
You
job,
know,
but
no
no,
one's
it's his
going
job.
to.
But the problem is in the way he does his job, which
Mhm.
is trying to like be funny, but like to the newer generation. But when you're old and trying to like make, hey,
Hey,
newer
fellow kids.
jokes, yeah, hey, fellow kids, exactly.
I mean,
Like mentioning Mia Khalifa on national television, in a studio show after the final round. Like, okay, you probably watched CBS and you were like, hey, I can do this too. You can't.
did they mention noted porn stars on CBS?
I don't think they have.
I don't think they have. I mean, they get hooked by Panamanians, so
Yeah, they get hooked
that's
by
positive.
breast memes as well.
Yeah.
But
I
the
mean,
problem with CBS, they actually have chemistry.
yeah.
Like all four of those cast, Jamie, Micah, Thierry, and Kate Abdo, all have chemistry together. Here, you have some chemistry with Jelicic and Vage and Valentina, but it's not a lot. It's just, yeah, it's very professional. And I also love Jelicic after Gattuso left. He just turns back to Vage and he's like, you don't want to defend me, like you didn't pop in once. And he's just like, I would have slapped you if I was in his position.
I mean, it would be nice. It would be nice to see someone do it in a different um, league. Like you say, I mean, could you imagine, Gattuso doing that, like you say, to Micah Richards?
Oh,
Well,
I mean,
it would be hilarious.
it would be hilarious.
I'd say
Yeah,
from anything. Um, but I mean, in a way, it sort of plays almost to his point because Gattuso wouldn't do that in. He probably wouldn't do that in Serie A. He wouldn't do it in
No,
France.
no, definitely wouldn't do it in Serie A because that's Italy. And the main point he was going after Jelicic was obviously the foreigner comments
Mhm.
and just talking bad, just being negative all the time around Hajduk.
Yeah, just meaning around the negativity or just the action in general. If you have that sort of disagreement with
Yeah,
a with a pundit, you know, I don't think you feel secure to do that, knowing that lots of people will watch. Not that lots of people aren't watching Rijeka Hajduk, but you know what I mean.
yeah,
You know as well as I do. If you're talking about Croatian football, there's a limited amount of people who are looking, and Gattuso can have a little, can throw wobbly, spit his dummy, whatever, and it probably won't have that much of an impact on people's perception of him. In fact, it probably
yeah,
enhances people's perception of him because, let's be honest, the guy as a player was always renowned as someone you don't want to get on the wrong side of.
yeah, exactly.
So it's playing into a brand, and I take it all with a pinch of salt. And I think I'm sure probably takes it all with a pinch of salt. It's surprised that it actually go as far as to make a bit of a scene on TV, but
Yeah.
still there's a theatre to it, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, it added something. I'm especially looking forward to now when the next time Jelicic is is at Poljud. It's probably going to be at Hajduk Dinamo
Mm.
in the 32nd round. Yeah, 32nd round.
Yeah,
So I'm waiting to see if Gattuso is gonna show up then, because he said he was never gonna show up if Jelicic is there again. And another comment Jelicic made was that after Gattuso left, but that he was a bigger Hajdukovac. He was a bigger Hajduk fan, like just a bigger Hajduk person in general than Gattuso. And I'm like, you moved to Dinamo, okay, Croatia at that time, but you moved to the biggest rivals. So
it again, it is what it is,
yeah,
isn't it? You limited in the pundits that are available, and you get they're not hiring us, are
yeah,
they? I think this
and
would be the solution. We get on very well with Mr. Gattuso.
yeah.
Like he gets up in my face, and I was like, yep, whatever you say, whatever you say. You're doing brilliant. You're doing with the title,
Whatever
mate.
you say, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
And
Aim to
also, I
give
love
you the
the
brain for
Jelicic.
Rangers.
And also, you have Jelicic, like telling an Italian to stop wagging his finger.
Yeah.
Of all the people to say it to, you're saying it to an Italian who's like been doing this and this his whole life. He was probably talking to his mother like that when he was coming from school and explaining why he got an F.
Exactly.
But yeah, just to shortly mention Gattuso again, just because he's always he's the main talking point at Hajduk with the tactics, with everything happening. Uh, I I don't think anybody sees him staying for another season. And I think it would be good for the club if he stays, no matter what, even if we win the title.
It depends what options are available for him, really, doesn't it? I don't get the impression that there are that many other options there.
Well, I
And
think
that,
if he like, obviously, I think he's gonna leave no matter what, on his own accord, because he obviously has a contract until 2026, so he's probably gonna break it and just leave. I think it's still Gattuso. Somebody's gonna hire him, especially in Italy. If there's a job open, like I don't know, Udinese, Lecce, you can call up Gattuso and probably get him in, just because he's Gattuso at the end of the day, and you're in Italy.
yeah, exactly. Like you say, there needs to be that higher profile thing for him to go to, doesn't there? I think if there's not, then would he move of his own volition? I don't think anyone gets the impression that he's like Tramezzani, who's like, oh, I've been here 6 months. Well, I need to move
Yeah,
now. Um,
too long.
yeah,
But yeah, I think if he wins the league, then that's just a big plus for him, because when he comes into his next job interview, he can just be like, "Hey, I stopped Hajduk's drought of 20 years without winning a title, so you
Well,
know.
exactly. If he wins the league, run.
Yeah, just
You're
yeah,
not getting better than
exactly.
that.
And if somebody asks, "How did you win it?" That's less relevant. Can you give me the job?
Yeah, we played amazing football.
we we
You should have
absolutely
seen it.
dominated. We
It's
dominated.
not in the highlights.
For some reason, they kept all the good parts out.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyways, I think that's enough about Hajduk. My God. Let's go to Dinamo because they obviously dominate against Lokomotiva and have like they that it's one match, but it's stuff to build upon for Cannavaro.
Yeah. It's the first actual result you expect of Demo that
Yeah,
they've had for a
for
while.
once.
And I mean, again, Stojkovic was great.
Yeah,
You
Stojkovic
know,
was
so
great.
mentioned
Kanga
it
scored.
before.
Obviously, I mentioned this celebration.
Yes,
But
he did.
Stojkovic was absolutely amazing. Baturna, he was okay. He didn't do much, but obviously, as we mentioned, he needs like a week off
Yeah,
just to get his energy back in.
yeah. I mean, it's too soon to say whether this is them back. I think Kang scored,
Yeah,
but he did
it's just
also
one match.
miss. He did
Yeah,
miss a couple of big chances as well. So yeah, for this coming weekend, obviously playing Varazini, that's an awkward.
away, also
Yeah,
away.
it's an awkward one. Just because we know Varazini don't have the attacking talent as much anymore.
Yeah,
Because obviously Shego's away, Michowski's injured, so there's less there. But there's
it,
no team
they
that
they
can
they still have
hold someone to
Varadin still
nil.
has a good Varadin still has a good defense. They've still
Yeah,
kept the defensive part of their squad, and so it's going to be very
exactly.
hard to break through. And if
Yeah,
they're
there's
able
no
to
team
break
that can
through
keep you to nil.
more than yeah, if Dinamo can break through more than once, then I think we can say that they're back.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. And I think for who didn't break through with them was Osiek at all.
Yeah, and something's happened during the international break. Copitelli has been sacked, and
Indeed.
Simon Rojman has come in.
I mean, you obviously want me to say this. 'Cause obviously, for um, much of Rosman's career, he has obviously been Gonzalo. Last time was Sarajevo. I
Yeah,
mean, after Rijeka, I think it's fair to say that he's not
yeah,
had a good spell anywhere
yeah.
since. At Maribor, it didn't work at
It
all.
didn't work. Yeah,
At Celje, again, this is when they're starting to push all the money in. It didn't work. Gonzalo was different, in terms of the amount of talent that they had there available to him. And you had Ibricic, who'd sort of moved up to sporting director at the time. So you
yeah,
had a good long-term partnership there at the club, even though he was only there a year. It was long-term in regards
yeah,
of them having worked together before. You look at what Gonzalez, how they've been since Rosberg left. You sort of see that's very quickly gone downhill. And Sarajevo, it's a decent win percentage, but I think if you're honest, the most telling thing that happened during the spell there was when it all kicked off during the cup quarterfinal, so cup
yeah.
semi-final against Boris
Against
last
Boris,
year.
yeah, yeah. That I was gonna say that's the only thing I remember from him at
Yeah,
Sarajevo.
and I think if you look at Sarajevo's season this time around, they're a better side under
Yeah, they
Djekic
definitely
than
are.
they were
Yeah,
under Rodman. And obviously, we know Djekic last season how he did. Rodman really desperately needs a good 12 months at a club.
yeah,
And obviously, absolutely have some of the resources there to do it in terms of the players that are there already. But as we know we've mentioned before. Dantas isn't going to be there next time around.
Yeah, most likely.
Yeah. Um, you know, are they going to be in a position where they're going to have to move a couple of people on? Well, they are. They're going to have to make quite a bit of a refurbishment of the squad this
Yeah,
summer. There's no
yeah,
way around that because there's too much money going to people who haven't performed.
yeah, and it really depends on how the rest of the season goes. Because if you reach Europe, if Rijeka can win the cup
Mm-hmm.
and you get a European spot, then you can be happy. But right now, it's not looking good.
It's not looking good, no. And at the end of the day, we've said this all season. Copatelli did not do a bad job.
No,
It was not good in terms of results, but in terms of performances, in terms of how some players developed and came through, he did absolutely fine.
no. The problem was when Osijek played good, they didn't win. When they
Yeah,
played badly, they won.
yeah, and I think we obviously talked about Copatelli last time, and I mean, he's not done the sort of job where he won't get another job.
Yeah,
He absolutely will get another chance somewhere.
yeah. He's still young. He definitely will get a job.
He's still young. He showed enough. Um, it, it just didn't work. But I think you have to stretch to think of a reason why, if it didn't work for Copatelli, why is it going to work for Simon
Rojman.
Rosman?
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see if Rojman can do something and maybe even win the cup with Osijek, because it's two games. You have Slaven in the cup, and then in the final, obviously the final is over two legs. The way goal rule has been scrapped. I don't think we mentioned
Yeah.
that. So thank God they remembered. Oh, we accidentally put in the rules from 2011. God, better fix that. But yeah, thankfully that's been fixed. But we'll see. Osijek is now playing against Istra away, which is always unpleasant for Osijek.
Yeah. And I mean, it should be a good game just purely from the perspective that you actually have two managers who like playing good football.
Yeah,
But Easter are pretty solid. And for a first game, I'm not sure the impression Rushman would want to make is just a 0-0 draw. But I think he'd probably take
obviously.
it.
Yeah,
He'd take it.
he probably
Um,
take it. The team probably will,
yeah.
because
Um,
if because a point means you stay above Istra. Because if Istra beats you, then you drop behind them, and if Lokomotiva gets a point, then also Lokomotiva gets in front of you.
well, exactly. And you
So
start,
Osijek could be eighth at the end of this weekend.
and when you're eighth, you start looking over your shoulder.
Yeah. So
Over their shoulder.
over their shoulder, Gorica and Šibenik have closed the gap.
Yeah, they did beating Istra,
Yeah,
and that was just not a good game,
yeah,
and not worth
it
really
was.
saying anything about.
No, I watched it. Obviously, Kaveh's first goal. I was like, okay, 17 minutes. Okay, we can. I was counting on Istra scoring another, so I was like, okay, we'll probably see two more goals. Nope,
No,
nope.
we did see two more goals with Slavan beating Gorica.
So yeah, so that game, the refereeing calls in that game, my God. So Lucci. So first of all, the first goal, actually, the goal that got disallowed in the 15-minute shoot, the scores, but he was way offside and obviously influenced the play, which needed like 5 minutes to be sorted out.
Yeah.
And the referee, Oliver Romic, right?
Um,
Yeah, Oliver
uh,
Romic had to call up the linesman to the VAR screen to be like, "Hey, what did he influence the play?" And he's like, "Yeah, obviously." And then immediately after gives it offside after looking at it for like 3 minutes.
I don't think I've seen that before.
Yeah,
You'd hope
and
not to see
then
it since.
and then Luka Lucic makes a perfectly clean tackle on, I forgot at this point on who, in the Gorica's team. I think it's on Halilovic.
Mhm.
Makes a perfectly fine tackle, takes the ball cleanly, like a meter before Halilovic even gets there. It's given as a foul and a yellow to Lucic. and it's a free kick just outside the box. Slaven Gorica didn't score it, so thankfully for Slaven they didn't get cheated on by Oliver Romic. And then we have a penalty called for Slaven where Halilovic touches the ball with his hand, which just doesn't happen. So thankfully VAR was there and saved Romic's ass 2 times. But yeah, and then it was a quick double from Slaven in at the time because there was loads of other time, as I mentioned, because of the aforementioned calls. But yeah, and Boric and Shuto got his goal. Goric got an assist. Tomislav Boric is still going at it at his age of 36, 37? How old is Boric?
Yes. He is 87, so he is
87, so he's even older. Yeah, 37, my god. Okay, he's still going at it. He's still scoring goals. This is his third goal of the season. And Ilya Nestorovsky, what a player. Still has it.
Still going.
still has it. Like that. It was the pass. Actually, not the pass. It was the cross to Boric. Brilliant, and then he obviously gets a goal to finish it off near the end of the match.
Yeah, and that keeps Slaven in hunt. Well, not in hunt. Obviously, the level for fourth at the moment.
Yeah, the level for fourth. Yeah.
Can we see them in Europe? We've not seen them in Europe for a long time.
Was the last time against Athletic Bilbao, or was that or is that too far?
I'm having to double check if I'm entirely honest, because it's hard to remember them not finishing seventh. But the last time, last season
it's very hard.
Europe, yeah, it was Bilbao 2012, 2013.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't watching the HNL then. I was still obsessed with Real Madrid, Barcelona, Champions League, and then I still hadn't found out about the HNL. And then got introduced to it in 2014, 2015. Then I started only watching Hajduk, and then 2018 I was like, you know what, this league is like okay.
And it was all downhill from there.
And it's all downhill, yeah. Now I gotta watch Šibenik play out a 0-0 draw, actually a 1-0 win. But I mean, the problem with Istra was they had chances, just nobody could finish them.
Sorry,
Fagolaval again had another good chance and just didn't put it anywhere near the target.
Yeah. I mean, it has been them all season, hasn't it? They absolutely have the talent there. They just don't have it. I think probably mentally.
Yeah.
The composure.
But they're looking better and better under Garcia. Garcia has really done a good job of getting that team. Like it's not his team yet. Obviously, he hasn't had a transfer window under his belt really. So we'll see what he can do in the summer. But it's looking better and better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And let's obviously cover up the upcoming round, which starts on Friday with Lokomotiva Gorica.
Yeah. And I am right in thinking, I'm sort of seeing it. Banic is out for a while, isn't he?
He is?
I
didn't see
certain
that.
I've seen something that Banic is injured.
I have not seen that. I mean, I haven't been following today anything. So was that today or?
No, it might have been last week. I'm sure there's something about him.
I can't find anything.
Maybe I just imagined it then.
It could be in your dreams,
it's
probably.
possible.
Were you playing too much FM and Banic got injured?
I would like to think I'm not dreaming of Igor
Banic. Well, that's one way to call him ugly. God, I wish he wasn't in my dreams. God, no, wow. Ew. The worst he can say is no. What? No, I wish he does. I don't dream of him. But yeah, I haven't seen anything, and it doesn't show up on SofaScore that he's injured. But then again, SofaScore is SofaScore. They're not anyway, like especially around the high level of the lower leagues. They're never gonna be right about injuries.
Yeah, I will. I have a feeling I've seen something. It maybe just he was ill or something like that.
Well, we'll see
Rather than
tomorrow.
injured.
We
We'll
we
see
don't have to
tomorrow.
wait a lot. Yeah, we don't have to wait for too long.
Yeah.
And obviously, Chabraya has left Lokomotiva because we
Yes.
forgot to talk about Lokomotiva. And Damir Ferencina will carry out the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm. And then we did mention it last time because Yelovich.
Yellow, yeah, we mentioned last time
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
Yelovich was in the talks in the winter, but I don't think it like what was the like Chabraya is supposed to say the stay as the sporting director, but from June for some reason,
Yeah. He
which
just went
doesn't
on
make
holiday.
sense. But he was just like, I'm too tired, boys.
No,
Just get
he
me
could.
out of the crunch. Just get me out. Just get me out of the crunch, Chava. I want to live.
He deserves it.
Yeah,
He stood his time. But yeah,
he's done a lot of time with Lokomotiv. What 4 years now?
yeah. But yeah, I don't really see anything other than Lokomotiv winning that. Be
Yeah,
serious for a moment. Um,
yeah. I don't think they've confirmed anything about somebody taking over in June as the manager. I think that's just going to be decided later in the season. For now, it's just Ferencina leading the side until the end.
yeah. So I mean, it goes one of two ways. It's perhaps a little early to have confirmed what they've confirmed because this
Yeah,
season, well, obviously the season isn't over yet, but 9 points in 10 games. If players are just like, oh well, we're just holding out, are we going to play for you? Which does happen.
yeah,
Then that gap to Sumnik probably isn't quite enough. But I mean, again, this side's better than Goritza, and we've seen take that Dinamo result and look back a week instead of them playing Osijek, and they beat them handily. So
yeah,
there's no trouble here.
yeah.
Just try to make drama where there is none.
So
Like
I
Jovicic.
think, yeah, I think Lokomotiva wins this, or it, yeah. If I had to predict it, I think Lokomotiva takes this
Yeah.
against
Uh,
Gorica because Gorica has. We'll see, because they still look like they need to like have a bit of time to like gel together on the Tsarevic because obviously new formation, new everything, and probably Tsarevic just needs a little bit of time, but he needs to get it under wraps immediately. Like if not this week, then next week.
yeah, because there are positive signs. Obviously, Paraziti's back.
Yeah,
Avesi has looked, pretty
and
much.
Pajaziti has also made his debut for Albania.
Yes, yes. And Erceg has looked again pretty sharp. So there's good there. I think it's just they're better than Shivnik. It's just
Yeah.
where results are coming from, isn't it?
Yeah, and then Saturday we have Istrosek, which we already talked about. So
Yeah.
it's really up in the air, I think, for me because obviously Rojman first game as manager, is he gonna change something? We're gonna see. He's brought back Hernani and Ademi into the squad, which were forced out of the squad by Copitelli.
Mhm.
So they're back in it. So we'll see if Rojman puts them back into the lineup. I hope not. Ademi Hernani was good at times.
I mean, you say that it might be an Amy just because Makovic, he is definitely injured.
No, he is,
So
but you still have Jakubovic, so
you
I don't
still
see
have
a
you still have
reason for.
Jakubovic, but it might just be he needs someone there as backup,
Yeah,
and also because he's used Jakubovic before, he might actually do what I
yeah,
prefer Jakubovic as is
yeah,
playing off the
yeah.
striker.
Could be, it could very much be. Then we have Slaven Rijeka, tough away day for Rijeka. Obviously, Slaven is not a team you want to play, especially away from home.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how that goes. If Rijeka drops points, then Hajduk next day could jump them because they're playing Šibenik. But
They'll probably just drop
Šib-
points anyway.
I was gonna say it's Hajduk, so Rijeka can probably we'll see. I'm just hoping something changes in Gattuso's mind, and just all of a sudden I see a perfectly normal formation, normal tactic that every single player is in his position.
Yeah, I
Without
mean,
it,
it's one of those where obviously like I say it's Slaven Rijeka, Hajduk Šibenik, Farazin Dinamo. This time, 12 months ago, you'd say, oh, it's three wins for the big teams, easy peasy. But
Now
you
it's
cannot
we
say that
don't
this
know anything.
season.
You don't know anything.
Yeah,
Like if I had to put somebody like that should be first after this round, it's Hajduk just because you're playing against the last team. Meanwhile, Varaždin and Slaven, who have been very good this season, are playing at home against your two title rivals.
yeah. It's you've got to take to try and take advantage of it, but
And Hajduk
again,
needs you just need points. It's just 70 points at this point is looking like that's
yeah.
gonna get you over the line for the title.
But no one takes advantage of anything this season.
Nope. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if Varaždin and Slaven somehow get into the title fight with 2 games remaining. Just everybody draws. Varaždin and Slaven just go on a winning streak.
I mean, I don't think Varazine will go on a winning streak. Slaven, maybe.
Slaven maybe, yeah. Varaždin is probably just gonna draw as well.
Yeah.
But yeah. To end the episode, who's your favorite to win the title with 10 games remaining?
I mean, it's just Dynamo have the inevitability factor, but they're terrible. Rijeka have the weaker side, but they're reliable. Hajduk are in the middle, but they're in the middle. And
They're always in the middle. The problem I prefer I if I had to bet on it, I would put it on Rijeka. But the
yeah,
problem with Rijeka, but the problem with this is not just Rijeka. They're inconsistent.
yeah,
Like they haven't strung together 3 wins in a row once.
yeah. They aren't inconsistent because they don't lose.
Because they just draw.
Yeah, they don't end up on a bad run. They just end up on a.
The problem is their attack.
3 points from 9.
The problem is their attack, which is wild to say because they have probably the best attack in the league. But
they don't have an attack part of it. They have a midfield part of it.
yeah, exactly. They've obviously scored the same amount of goals now as Hajduk. Dinamo obviously has the most goals, but their defense is shocking. Meanwhile, Rijeka's defense is perfect. Like this season, 11 goals, conceding 11 goals at 26 games. Amazing.
Yeah.
But the problem is you score 4 goals in one game. Next game, you score 0.
Mm-hmm.
So they can't find any kind of consistency in the attack and in the goals, which you need. And if they continue this of like, 2 wins, 2 draws, win, draw, it could get you over the line just because Hajduk and Dinamo have not been consistent as well. But if Dinamo gets into form, or if Hajduk finds that form that they had at the start of the season for the first 2 months, then it's pretty much in their hands.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's not looking at the next game. It's looking at maybe the next run of 3. Who can get 7 points? And that's a mini run. It's I mean, I realise I've not actually given a favourite there, but they're all my least favourite.
I think whoever wins, we're not gonna be happy.
Yeah.
No, nobody's gonna be like, oh yeah, they deserved it. This season is just, hey, who wins it? You got it. Go and celebrate it.
Yeah, there's just Joaquin Phoenix in the Coliseum in Pula. Just like, are you not entertained? I'm like, not really, no.
I mean, if it goes to the last day and we have like Rijeka first by the 15th minute, then Hajduk jumps to first after halftime, then Dinamo in the 75th, and last minute winner for Rijeka or Hajduk, then that's entertaining. Like all the season has led up to one game.
Yeah, but you won't be entertained. You'll be just a bag of nerves.
Well, yeah, but like for outsiders,
yeah. I'll be entertained.
You'll be entertained.
That's all that matters.
Yeah. Anyways, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Anyways, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.